All right, let's start with the most important thing, your TOEFL preparation journey, diagnosis of your current situation. Both beginners and retakers, y'all need this because a lot of people are going to tell you, oh, you can improve in 1 week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. But it really depends on where you are. If you don't know where you are, where you want to be, what is causing that gap, and how fast you can fix that gap, then honestly, it's just wishful thinking. So let's be real about it. Here are some rough benchmarks. If your gap is like 0.5 overall, maybe 2 weeks. If it's 1 to 1.5, maybe 3 weeks to 1.5 months. If only one section is weak, much easier. If multiple sections are weak, much harder. So, diagnosis. It's not sexy, but this is step 0. So how do you actually do diagnosis? I absolutely recommend using ETS's free practice tests first, especially the teacher resources practice tests, not the ETS paid mock tests yet. Do it properly with official timing, and for speaking, you want to record your answers, preferably with some speech-to-text apps like Otter AI or Nota. So why the free tests first? Because the questions are close to the real tests. It gives you answer keys. You can actually see your mistakes and analyze them. The only thing that is missing is the scoring and timing guide. You can get that by subscribing to my mailing list and download it from the link in the first email. Now compare that with the ETS paid mock tests. They gave you accurate final scores, yes, but you don't see your mistakes, you can't copy questions, you can't analyze deeply. So if you start with the paid tests, you get a score, but no insights. That's pretty useless for diagnosis. Step 2, you want to collect your raw scores. Now, how do you do that? For reading and listening, just use the answer keys provided in the practice test PDFs, and you want to count the correct answers and skip a few questions. That's your raw score. How do you skip? Again, it's in the... For writing, there are different parts. Don't mix them. For build a sentence, it's very objective. So if you did not manage to produce the exact correct answer, then you don't get that point. So basically, there are 10 questions. You just need to count your raw points. And then with email and academic discussion, it is more subjective. Either you use the rubrics or I recommend that you compare yourself with the scoring samples, which you can also get in the first email after you subscribe to my mailing list. And this is very important. A lot of people think I only got 2.5 out of 6 in writing because of email or academic discussion writing. Some even question ETS's AI scoring system. Maybe there was a glitch when you gave your answers. But actually, most of the time, they lose points in build a sentence. So if you don't separate the scoring of each component of the writing section, you misdiagnose yourself. For interview questions and speaking, you need to use the rubrics and compare your answer with the sample answers. Plus, you need to listen to your fluency and intelligibility. For listen and repeat, you should rely on the rubrics. And if you don't know how to do it, I'm really not about advertising my stuff, but you can get them all in the first PDF. All right, and then you want to convert your raw score into the scale score. Using my scoring guide and put it next to you and calculate. Now you have section scores, you have total score, and this is your real starting point. Step 4, you need to find the root causes. That's most important for anyone who wishes to improve quickly. A lot of people just stop at the score, or they look at a wrong question and go, oops, I was just not careful. That is not very helpful for any kind of improvement. You need to know why you got things wrong. So for reading and listening, for every wrong question, you have to document what you chose, why you chose it, what you were thinking for each answer options. Then put everything into ChatGPT and ask, what types of mistakes am I making and what are the shared root causes? Not just give me some explanations, because you want to see patterns across questions. Also, you can add, my native language is, say, Russian, Arabic, Indonesian, because that can influence some of the errors, especially the grammatical mistakes. All right, for writing and speaking, writing specifically email and academic discussion writing and speaking interview questions, don't ask ChatGPT to score you and give you things that you should improve. That will be very misleading. Instead, give it the scoring samples and your answer, and ask, is mine closer to the 3-point answer, 4-point answer, or the 5-point answer, and why? Ignore minor mistakes. That's much more reliable, because ChatGPT then will not use those outdated TOEFL or academic writing and speaking criteria that it gets from the LLM training data. And for speaking, for listen and repeat, again, you give ChatGPT the rubrics and the original transcript, audio transcript, and your answer, and then ask, what patterns are causing me to lose points? Again, we're not looking for per question correctness. We're looking for patterns across wrong questions and the root causes that are driving those patterns. Is it some weak grammar knowledge, or is it my first language? We need to know. Otherwise, we can't fix systematically. After you understand your mistakes from the free tests, then you can take an official ETS mock test, the paid ones. Why? Because your speaking and writing, specifically speaking interviews and email and academic discussion writing, are scored with the official ETS scoring algorithm. Unless third-party websites have ETS's API built into their scoring engine, it is impossible for them to do the same kind of analysis. Okay. So after taking those official tests, you have an official score to validate your understanding from the diagnosis in the free mock tests. Now, there's a warning. Again, if you want to verify your speaking performance and writing performance, okay, with the most official like accuracy, don't use third-party platforms. They're great for practice, but if you want to know exactly where you are in terms of speaking and writing, these third-party platforms often use ChatGPT-like scoring systems. So fundamentally, it has a lot of generic or outdated TOEFL or academic writing and speaking criteria from the language models training data sets. Okay. And many of the third-party platforms do not use ETS's official API because it's expensive. Okay. Even for ones that do use the official ETS API, sometimes they underestimate you slightly. I've tried them. So when you use them, they usually underestimate your speaking and writing performance, thus making you feel very frustrated and in a very unnecessary way. Again, they're great for practice. They're great for observing the changes in your performance day to day. But don't get too fixated on the absolute scoring that it gives you. So yeah, as you can see, diagnosis is not exciting, but it's definitely life-saving for some people. A lot of people skip this and just do test after test for dopamine. But then reality hits. If you do this properly, you know exactly where you are, you know exactly what is wrong, and you know what to fix first. Okay, that's how you actually improve. So see you in the next video.